Alright, so to start this video, I am going to be installing the fuel system. So I've got the new fuel pump and new line. So the fuel pump is probably going to go somewhere around here under the frame, and then I'll connect hard line to the tank, and then hard line up to the fuel filter, and then to the carburetor. So that's what we're going to work on. I'm going to assemble this first, put the bracket on it, see where it lines up on the frame, and then start cutting the old fuel line out. Alright, so here's where the fuel pump's going to go. I've got it tacked on right now. I built a bracket out of a piece of angle iron, and then it bolts to the bracket that came with the pump. I took out the rubber line that I had in here for temporary purposes because the steel line broke on me the one day, so I just ran rubber. But anyway, then I pulled it through and put it on the top of the tank, so it's now right there, and I'll take that metal coupler piece out and it'll go right into the barb to the in on the fuel pump. And then on this side, on the other side, it'll go out and then rubber and then join to my nickel copper line, probably right here. Then I will run it probably on the inside of the frame along with this wire, or this line that is already here, and then up into the engine bay. I'll probably do that another day because this is a task and I've got gas on my hands now, and so I don't want to weld that bracket on fully, so I'll probably clean up, call it a day. My toes are cold anyway. So alrighty, just got that painted and welded on. Well, welded then painted from both sides. Excuse the lack thereof body mount, but I fixed that earlier with a piece of 10 gauge, but it still looks kind of shitty, but it's strong. So anyway, here's this fuel line up here out of the way. I got to pull this piece of steel out of it because that'll go right into the fuel pump. Then I got to get my nickel copper line running up the frame. So we'll put the fuel pump back on and put the fittings in it so that I can start putting the line in it. Alright, so the nickel copper line, I've got it going over there and up into the engine bay. Here is the fuel pump on this side, and that side's got a barb with just a short piece of 3/8 rubber to connect to this. So I've got my little pipe cutter, tubing cutter, so I'll cut this at the spot where it lines up about there, give me a bit more room so that I can tuck it neatly against the frame, and then we should be good. I'm gonna use my flaring tool to flare the end so that the hose has a nice flared end so that the hose doesn't fall off, and then that with the hose clamp should be enough to keep, however many PSI, 7 to 8 PSI, but that should be plenty, so that's great. So I'll cut this and then line it up, and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, so fuel line, I've got that flared. It runs along the frame, zip tied right there, up next to the shifter pivot, and then there's another zip tie right there, next to the brake line secure point. And it goes up to the engine bay. Alright, so I just finished it up here. It comes up to a 90. I've got a flare on the end so the hose will stay on. Need to grab some more hose clamps and then continue the line to the carburetor, but I'll do that later. But now there's a zip tie and a piece of hose holding it to that bracket for the brakes, so that's good. Alright, a new day and sun. Anyway, but the line from there to there, so I made it. I was looking for a 180, but I couldn't find one because I thought I was going to kink the hose, but it took me one try. So that'll go like that, just flare that end like that, that'll be good. Alright, got the flare there, just a piece of hose, comes around to the fuel filter. I don't know if I said about this fuel filter, but it has a return, but there's no restriction in it, so I put a piece of bent hose in it to act as a restrictor. So that might be fine. If I have low fuel pressure, then I will increase it. It's just so, like, when you shut it off, it doesn't vapor lock, or you know, the vapors doesn't boil over and then, you know, go into the carburetor and flood the engine when you shut it off, so that there's some relief for pressure in the line can you know, escape. So I watched a couple videos, says it works, so I'll try it. If it doesn't work, then I'll just block it off or put a regular fuel filter there, and then there'll be no problem. So anyway, looks cool. Got the nickel copper line, and spark plugs are all in, plug wires are all in. Now I just need a couple hose clamps and run a power wire to the fuel pump, and then coolant, and then test fire probably. So that's it for right now. We'll see more when we do more, which will be in a few seconds. So I'm filling it with coolant, and there was a leak. So the right here, the one of the timing cover bolts, I need to grind it down because it's way too long. The head was, and it was hitting the bottom of the water pump, not making it be able to pull in. So I grinded it a little bit, but I need to do a bit more, just making sure I don't do too much. So yeah, I'll take a little bit more off and then see. Alright, so which bolt is it? It is that bolt right there. That's the son of a bitch. You can see there's maybe a 1/16 in the gap now. So before, there's obviously, you know, a lot more because the bolt was a lot bigger. Anyway, like, you can see how big the bolt was right there. So I took, you know, I don't know what I take, not a quarter, maybe, I don't know, more than an eighth off the bolt. Yeah, I'm probably 3/16 maybe. And then it seems to work. That's the same on the other Vortec block that we have in the garage. I remembered this problem, but I forgot it, so now you have been told, so don't make the mistake I did. Remember that you need to do something with that. It should be fine. I still got it pretty tight with the 10 mil wrench. I mean, it's a 10 mil bolt on a plastic cover. You know, it's not doesn't need to be super tight. So now we'll put coolant in it and then see if we have any leaks then. Hopefully not. All right, let's try spinning it over. Spark plugs are in it. I already did it once. Sounds pretty good. Oil pressure's up. Alright, now all I need is power to the fuel pump, and should be ready to try to start it. Try it again. Alrighty, check it out. I've got a fuel pump, got the line wired to an ignition source. I hear noises. I should go check, make sure everything's okay. So there's no leaks. So I'll double check, make sure there's no leaks, and then try it again. Brake pedal's a little squishy, but there it is. Little exhaust leak, have to put a gasket on that. But anyway, got a bit of oil to clean up where it spilled. So I'll park it out of the way for now and then shut it off, and then I'll back it in later. Alright, so we thought there was a problem. It was leaking oil and actually caught on fire on the exhaust. But you can see that was broken. And the one we put on it to replace it, which this was the problem, I guess, is only clamping down on one side, so the oil filter was only on one way and oil was blowing out this side. But anyway, the fire put itself out, and then so this was the problem. And you can see the casting here on this one is like only maybe 1/4 of an inch. The other one, it's the full width of this casting here. Anyway, so that's fixed, and truck's right here. Got to fix the exhaust leak and then put brake fluid and power steering fluid. Then we can probably go for a test drive. Even though it backed out and went in drive just fine. It's actually kind of stuck in the snow where it was parked. It was, you know, spinning the tires a bit, but so it responds well, and I think it'll be happy. The temp gauge got up there, maybe 115 Celsius, so I shut it off. The fan's definitely not adequate, but we knew that with the 327, so I'll need to get a new fan. I'll probably find an aftermarket one.